Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they keep telling themselves a lie. I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow is where unfinished dreams go to die. Think about it. The book you never wrote, the body you never built, the life you keep planning but never living. You already know what to do. You just don't do it. And if nothing changes today, then 5 years from now will look exactly the same. This isn't motivation. This is a wake-up call. Let's talk about why doing it today changes everything. Hello, everyone. Hi, all, and welcome to Book Podcast Zone. I am absolutely ready to get into this one. I'm Emma.
And I'm John. It's great to be here.
And today we are tackling a beast that I think every single person listening, and definitely the two of us, have wrestled with. We are talking about Do It Today, Overcome Procrastination, Improve Productivity, and Achieve More Meaningful Things by Darius Foreau.
It's one of those titles that sounds simple, right? Almost deceptively simple. Yep. You see it on a shelf and you think, okay, sure, thanks for the advice, Captain Obvious. Yeah. But then you actually open this book and you realize it's less of a catchy slogan and more of a manual for survival.
A manual for survival. That is the perfect way to put it. And I want to set the stage here because we are recording this in 2026. The world has not gotten quieter. It has not gotten slower. If anything, the distractions are more aggressive, the demands are higher, and that feeling of, I'll just get to it when things calm down, it's becoming a dangerous trap.
Because things never calm down.
Never.
Right. The calm down moment is a myth. It's a mirage on the horizon. And that's really the mission of this deep dive today. We aren't just summarizing a book about how to, write a to-do list better. We are looking at a philosophy of urgency. And what I really appreciate about Darius Foreau is that he isn't writing this from some mountaintop where he's achieved nirvana and never checks his phone.
That's what I liked about his background. He's so open about the fact that he isn't a guru. He's a guy who battled chronic procrastination. He failed. He struggled with that heavy, heavy feeling of wasted potential. Everything in this book comes from trial and error, not from a textbook.
Which makes it so much more relatable. He's been in the trenches. He knows what it's like to have a huge deadline looming and then suddenly find yourself cleaning the grout in your bathroom with a toothbrush just to avoid doing the actual work.
Oh, I have absolutely been there. The procrastination cleaning is so real. Suddenly the baseboards are like the most fascinating thing in the entire house.
It is. It really is. So the way we're going to structure this discussion today is pretty logical. We're going to start with the psychology, the why. Why do we wait? Why do we keep pushing things to tomorrow?
Okay.
Then we'll move into the defense systems, the rituals and the habits that protect you. After that, we'll look at the killers, the things we really need to eliminate from our lives.
The enemies.
Exactly. And finally, we'll talk about the long game, which is really about finding meaning in all of this.
It's a full journey, so let's not wait. Let's do it today.
Let's do it.
Okay, part one, the psychology of procrastination. Let's start with that big idea, the myth of tomorrow. Walk us through this. Why are we so obsessed with tomorrow?
It's the absolute core concept of the book. Do it today, not tomorrow. Foreau argues that postponing doesn't just delay the result, it actually kills the momentum entirely. But psychologically, the reason we do it is, it's fascinating. We have a cognitive bias where we view our future self as a completely different person.
Right. Future me is amazing. She is basically a superhero.
Exactly. Think about how you view future you. In your head, future you has had 8 hours of deep, restorative sleep. She's eaten a perfect kale salad for lunch.
No, for sure.
She has boundless energy, laser focus, and she actually enjoys doing boring administrative tasks.
Yeah, she loves spreadsheets.
She loves spreadsheets. So, present you, who is tired, stressed, and maybe just ate a bagel, thinks, you know what? I'll let future me handle this hard task. She's just better equipped.
It's like delegating work to a much better, more competent employee. But the tragedy is that when I wake up tomorrow, I'm not future me. I'm just me again.
Precisely. Tomorrow you is just as tired, just as stressed, and here's the kicker. Now, tomorrow you has less time to do the thing. You're handing a heavier burden to a person with the exact same capacity. It's a complete setup for failure.
It reminds me so much of tax season here in the U.S. Every single year, without fail, you get this huge wave of people who wait until April 14th.
The classic deadline panic. It's a national pastime.
It really is. And logic would say, if I do my taxes in February, I have months to sort it out. It's calm. I can find my receipts without freaking out. But we wait. And waiting until April 14th doesn't make the math any easier.
Yeah.
The forms don't magically get simpler. The IRS doesn't send you a note saying, hey, since you waited so long, we'll just give you a break on all the paperwork.
It's the complete opposite. The task is objectively the same, but subjectively, in your mind, it has become a monster.
It really has. You're adding this thick layer of adrenaline and panic that actually degrades the quality of your work. You're much more likely to make mistakes. You're stressed out of your mind. You're snapping at your family. And this is the part that really gets me. You spent 2 whole months with this low-level anxiety just humming in the background of your brain.
That background hum is the killer. Foro talks about this extensively. He calls unfinished tasks a cognitive load.
Cognitive load.
Yeah, think of your brain like a computer's RAM. Every task you procrastinate on is an open window running in the background. It's using up resources. So even when you aren't actively doing the taxes, you're thinking about not doing the taxes. You're draining your mental energy just by holding on to the delay.
So if we know this, if we know logically that tomorrow's a trap and that we are literally hurting ourselves, why do we still do it? Is it just laziness?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I just want to sit on the couch and do nothing.
And this is where Thoreau really cuts deep, and honestly, where modern psychology completely backs him up. He says the single biggest reason most people procrastinate is not laziness, it's fear.
Fear. That feels heavy.
It is heavy, but it's incredibly accurate. Procrastination is an emotional regulation problem, not a time management problem.
Whoa. Say that again?
It's an emotional regulation problem.
Oh.
You aren't avoiding the task, you are avoiding the negative emotion that you have associated with the task.
That actually makes so much sense. Because if I were just lazy, I wouldn't do anything. But often I'm doing a ton of other things. I'm answering easy emails, I'm cleaning the house, I'm running errands. I'm just avoiding the one big thing.
Exactly. It could be fear of failure. If I read this article, what if people think it's bad? It could be fear of judgment. It could even be fear of success.
Fear of success. How does that work?
It's this idea of, if I actually launch this business, my life is going to change in ways I can't predict. And what if I can't handle it? So it's safer to just stay where you are. Or, it could just be the fear of boredom or the fear of difficulty.
I see this so much in the creator economy context of 2026. You talk to people who want to start a YouTube channel or a podcast or just post their art online. And they have the equipment, they have the ideas, but they don't post. They always say, oh, I'm just waiting for the right time.
Or I need to do a little more research first. I need to learn one more piece of software.
Exactly. I need to buy a better microphone. But it's never about the microphone. It's fear of that first comment. It's fear of being seen and judged.
And you see it on a macro level, too. Look at the economy right now.
Yep.
People are afraid to start businesses because of all the economic uncertainty. They say, well, what if the market crashes? So they wait.
Right.
But I would say by waiting, you are guaranteeing you don't succeed. Failure is a possibility if you start. It's a certainty if you don't.
Wow. That's a tough pill to swallow, but it's true.
The key is realizing that the discomfort of doing the thing is temporary, but the pain of regret can be permanent. The fear of what if is almost always worse than the reality of just doing.
Okay, so let's get practical. Say we're in it. We're in the fog.
Yeah.
We're doom scrolling. We're avoiding the work. The fear is winning. We were just sitting there and paralysis has set in. For us, a section called What I Do When I Can't Focus. What's the tactic here?
He's a huge proponent of changing your environment to shock the system. When that mental fog hits, your willpower is usually already depleted.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's gone. You can't just will yourself out of a slump sometimes. You need a physical reset.
I love this because our environment is so tied to our habits, right? It triggers everything.
100%. If you're sitting on your couch, your brain has a deep neural pathway that says, this is where we watch Netflix and chill. It does not say, this is where we write the great American novel.
No.
You're actively fighting your own biology by trying to do hard work in a relaxation space.
I have a very specific and very common US-based example for this. The coffee shop effect.
Yes, the Starbucks effect. It's a real phenomenon.
If I am at home and I'm trying to work at my kitchen table, I can see the laundry pile in the corner. I can see the dishes in the sink. I can hear the refrigerator humming. And suddenly, emptying the dishwasher feels like the most urgent and important task in the world because it's an easy win. It satisfies that need to feel busy without doing the actual scary work.
It's a perfect example of productive procrastination. You're telling yourself, I'm being good, I'm cleaning, but you're just avoiding.
Exactly. But if I pack up my laptop, get in the car, drive to a local coffee shop, one of those bustling ones with the indie playlist and the smell of espresso, and I pay $7 for an oat milk latte.
You've got skin in the game now. You paid $7. That's a real investment.
I paid $7. I am not going to scroll Instagram for an hour after paying $7 for a coffee. And everyone around me is working. You see other people typing, having quiet meetings. The whole environment just screams focus. It forces a total reset.
That's the big takeaway. Don't try to fight the fog with your mind. Fight it with your feet. Move. Change the room. Go to a library. Go to a park. Just disrupt the pattern. Even just moving from the couch to a desk can be enough of a signal to your brain to say, okay, playtime is over. It's time to work now.
I love that. Fight the fog with your feet. That is going on a sticky note on my monitor right now. Okay, so we have unpacked the psychology of why we wait, the fear, the future self lie, and how to snap out of it. Before we move on to the systems and rituals that can help keep us consistent, we have a small request.
If you are enjoying this deep dive into Do It Today and maybe feeling a little bit seen right now, please take a second to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who maybe needs a little nudge to get started on their dreams.
Yes, do it today. Don't wait until tomorrow to subscribe. We'll be right back with part 2.
See you in a moment.
Welcome back to Book Podcast Zone. We are deep in the trenches of Darius Foreau's Do It Today. We've talked about the fear. Now let's talk about the defense. Part 2. Systems and rituals.
Right. This is where we move from the mindset to the mechanics, because here is the hard truth. Inspiration is completely unreliable.
So flaky.
It's the flakiest friend you have. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you will feel like you can conquer the world, and some days you will feel like a potato. You need a system that works on the potato days.
Potato days. I feel that in my soul. And one of my absolute favorite concepts from the book for surviving those days is the evening ritual. Foreau has a chapter called This 30-Minute Evening Ritual Will Help You to Kick Life in the Ass.
Which is an aggressive title, but I like it.
Me too. It's got energy.
It is aggressive, but it's incredibly effective. The core idea is that a productive day doesn't start at 8 a.m. when you open your laptop. It starts the night before when you close it.
Explain that, because usually when I'm done with work, I'm just trying to survive until bedtime. My brain is fried.
And that's totally normal. But the idea is to use the last bit of your rational end-of-day brain to reduce tomorrow's resistance. There's a biological cost to making choices. It's a concept called decision fatigue.
I've heard of this.
Yeah, and research shows that willpower is like a muscle. It fatigues with use throughout the day. So when you wake up, your cortisol is rising, you're groggy, and if you immediately face a barrage of small choices, what do I wear, what do I eat, what is the very first thing I should work on, you're burning precious fuel.
So by the time I actually sit down to do the important work, like write the report, I'm essentially working with a depleted battery.
Exactly. You've spent your executive function currency on choosing socks and deciding on cereal. The evening ritual is all about clearing the path for your future self. It's about making all those low-value decisions the night before.
The classic example is the gym clothes.
Right.
Laying them out before you go to bed.
It is the oldest trick in the book because it works. If you sleep in your gym shorts or you put them right by the bed with your sneakers, you have removed the friction of finding your socks in the dark when you're half asleep.
Right.
You don't have to decide to go to the gym. The clothes are already there staring at you. It's a visual cue.
For the modern remote worker, which is so many of us in the U.S. now, I think the evening ritual is even more critical for just shutting down properly.
Oh, absolutely. Because when your office is your living room, there is no commute to decompress. The lines are so blurry.
So blurry. I've started doing this thing where at 5:00 p.m. before I close my laptop, I clear my physical desk, I put the coffee mugs in the sink, I wipe it down. And then, this is the key, I write my top 3 to-dos for tomorrow on a physical sticky note, and I stick it to the closed laptop.
Oh, that is brilliant. Simple, but brilliant.
So when I sit down the next morning, I don't open Slack first. I don't open my email and get hit with 100 requests. I look at the sticky note. I know exactly what my mission is for the day.
You've outsourced the executive function to yesterday you. Yesterday you was awake, rational, and had a clear plan. Morning you is groggy and very easily distracted.
Morning me is a child who needs instructions.
Right. Trust the sticky note. That 30 minutes of prep saves you, what, maybe 2 hours of procrastination the next day? It stops you from just doom scrolling through your inbox for an hour trying to figure out what to do first.
Now, part of that ritual and part of general sanity in 2026 is disconnecting. Foreau has a whole chapter called Why Disconnecting from the Internet Improves Your Focus.
Which, in this day and age, is almost a radical political statement.
It really is. We have this always-on culture. If you don't reply to a text message in 4 minutes, people think you're dead or that you're mad at them.
Or worse, you feel that nagging FOMO that you're missing out on something vital.
Yes.
True. But 4.0 argues, and the neuroscience backs this up, that intentional offline time is no longer a luxury. It is a biological necessity for cognitive function.
Yeah.
You simply cannot have deep thoughts if you are constantly being interrupted by notifications.
We're seeing a massive trend with this in the U.S. right now. You look at places like Silicon Valley or even just regular folks going up to cabins in upstate New York. Yeah. People are paying thousands of dollars for digital detox retreats.
It's so ironic, isn't it? We spend thousands on the newest iPhone, and then we pay thousands more to have someone lock it in a safe for a weekend so we can walk in the woods.
It sounds completely absurd when you say it out loud like that, but it speaks to how desperate we are for silence. I think we're actually terrified of our own thoughts.
We are. Boredom used to be the default state of humanity. You'd wait for a bus, you'd just wait. Yeah. Now it's a terrifying void that we have to immediately fill with a screen. But here's the thing. Great ideas don't come when you are scrolling TikTok. They come in the shower, they come when you're on a long walk, they come when the brain is idle and allowed to make new connections. If you never disconnect, you never give your brain the space to synthesize information.
So the actionable tip here isn't necessarily move to a cabin in the woods. It's about creating boundaries. And this is where 4.0 talks about managing your attention, not just your time.
This is such a critical paradigm shift. The chapter is how to focus better. Manage your attention, not your time.
What's the real distinction there? Because my boss definitely still cares about my time.
Well, the old industrial model was entirely time-based. You punch a clock, you sit at a desk for 8 hours. If you are physically present, you are working. That worked great for an assembly line. It does not work for knowledge work.
No, it really doesn't.
You can sit at a desk for 8 hours straight, but if you are mentally drained, if you are checking news feeds every 10 minutes, if you are burned out, your actual productive output is probably close to zero. You have managed your time, you were there, but you completely mismanaged your attention.
Especially in the gig economy or creative fields. I mean, I could write a script in 2 hours if I am fresh and focused. If I am distracted and tired, that same script can take 8 hours, and frankly, the quality is much worse.
Exactly. So the goal isn't how do I squeeze more hours into the day, it's how do I protect my peak energy hours. If you know you are sharpest between 9:00 and 11:00 a.m., you treat that block of attention like solid gold. You don't spend it on menial tasks like answering email. You spend it on the big, important project.
You don't spend your gold coins on gumballs.
I love that analogy. Don't spend your attention currency on cheap dopamine hits. Save it for the work that actually matters.
Which leads us perfectly into all the things that are trying to steal that currency. The things that are trying to pickpocket our attention when we aren't looking. But before we get to the thieves, the killers of productivity.
We have a small ritual for you, our listener.
We do. To help us beat the algorithm and keep the show going, please hit that like button, subscribe to Book Podcast Zone, and share this episode with a friend who needs to reclaim their attention.
Do it now while you're thinking about it. Don't put it off.
All right, welcome back. Part 3, the productivity killers. We know what to do. We have our evening ritual in place. But then the saboteurs show up.
The enemies are at the gate. And sometimes they are already inside the house.
And the first one? The biggest one is right in our pocket. The chapter is titled, Smartphones Harm Your Productivity More Than You Think.
He calls it the pocket saboteur.
It's scary because we know this on some level. We all say, oh, I'm on my phone too much.
Yeah.
But we treat it like a minor bad habit, like biting your nails. 4.0 treats it like a serious existential threat to your focus.
Because it is. A smartphone isn't a neutral tool like a hammer. A hammer doesn't try to get you to use it at 2 a.m. A hammer isn't engineered by thousands of PhDs in behavioral psychology to make you addicted to it.
That's the difference. It's an unequal fight. We're bringing a knife to a gunfight against these apps.
4.0 is very clear. These are pocket supercomputers designed to steal and monetize your focus. It's the quick dopamine loop. Every notification, every little red dot, every infinite scroll is a hit.
I catch myself doing this in the most mundane situations. Let's talk about the grocery store line. You're at Trader Joe's or a Whole Foods. You're waiting to pay for your groceries. The line is maybe 3 minutes long. What do 99% of people in that line do?
The phone comes out instantly. It's a reflex.
Immediately. It's like a nervous twitch. We cannot stand 3 minutes of unstructured boredom. We doom scroll news, We check Instagram, we look at email.
And you might think, so what? It's just wasted time in a line. I'm not working anyway. But it's not just about the time. You are actively draining your mental battery.
So,
Instead of letting your brain rest for a minute or just observe the world around you, you are flooding it with a fire hose of information, outrage, bright colors, and noise. So by the time you get to your car, you're actually more mentally tired than when you walked into the store.
wow. So that 5 minutes of scrolling actually steals energy from the real work you need to do later.
Yes.
It's a slow leak in your energy tank.
It fragments your attention span. If you train your brain that every single moment of stillness must be filled with a screen, you literally lose the ability to do deep work. Deep work requires pushing through moments of boredom and difficulty. If you can't stand in a line without your phone, you probably can't write a chapter of a book without checking Twitter.
So the challenge is to just be bored. Stand in line and call an ace. Look at the people. Look at the weird items in the impulse buy section by the register.
Be a human being existing in the world. In 2026, it's a radical act.
Another killer 4 identifies is one that wears a disguise. It doesn't look like a vice at all. In fact, it looks like a virtue. Perfectionism.
Ah, yes. The chapter, How Perfectionism is Destroying Your Productivity.
The trap of good enough isn't good enough.
He has a great line for this. Perfectionism is often just procrastination in a fancy suit.
Ooh, I love that. Say that again.
Perfectionism is procrastination in a fancy suit. It makes you feel like you have high standards, like you're noble, but really it's just preventing you from shipping. It keeps you safe. If you never finish the project, it can never be judged.
But wait, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. Isn't quality important? I don't want to just ship garbage out into the world.
Of course, quality matters, but there's a huge difference between having high standards and being a perfectionist. High standards mean you do your best work and then you put it out there. Perfectionism means you obsess over tiny, insignificant details that no one else will ever notice, purely to avoid the vulnerability of saying, I'm done.
We see this play out in the startup world versus the corporate world in the US all the time.
The MVP concept, minimum viable product.
Right. A startup will launch a product that is kind of broken, maybe a little ugly, but it works. It solves the core problem. They ship it. They get real feedback from real users. They fix it. They grow.
Meanwhile, the perfectionist in the big corporation is sitting in a meeting room for 2 years, polishing the font choices on the website, planning a flawless launch that never happens.
And by the time they finally launch, if they ever do, the market has completely moved on.
Exactly. 4.0 says done is better than perfect, because once it's done, you can improve it. You can iterate. You can't improve something that doesn't exist. You can't steer a parked car.
You can't steer a parked car. That is such a good visual. You have to get the thing moving first, even if it's slow and clunky.
The third killer he mentions is mindless browsing. And this is for the tab hoarders out there.
Guilty. I am looking at my browser right now, and I feel personally attacked. I think I have 47 tabs open.
We all are. You have 40 tabs open because I might need this article later, and I need to read this, and I need to buy these shoes, and I need to check this recipe for dinner.
It's digital hoarding.
It is. And just like a physically cluttered room makes it hard to relax, a digitally cluttered browser makes it impossible to focus.
Yeah.
It's constant visual noise. It's a to-do list that's always staring you in the face. It's a low-level stressor.
So the advice is just close the tabs. If it's really that important, bookmark it. But clear the workspace.
Eliminate the visual cues of distraction. Make your digital environment as clean and intentional as your physical one should be.
Simple, but surprisingly hard to do. Okay, we have identified the killers: smartphone addiction, perfectionism in its fancy suit, and digital clutter. We're going to take a breath, close our mental tabs, and ask you one more time.
If this is resonating with you, if you're realizing you might be a perfectionist procrastinator with too many tabs open, please like, subscribe, and share. Help us grow the Book Podcast Zone community.
We appreciate you so much. Now let's get advanced.
Let's do it.
Part 4, Advanced Productivity Tactics. We've cleared out the weeds, now let's plant the garden. How do we actually operate at a high level, consistently?
This is where we get into the really powerful tools for efficiency. And the first one is a favorite of mine, but it often scares people. The chapter is How to Read 100 Books a Year.
Okay, stop right there. 100 books. I do the math on that, my brain just hurts. That's almost 2 books a week.
Huh?
Who has time for that? I have a job, I have a family, I have to, sleep.
It sounds completely impossible, right? Like something only a retired billionaire could do.
Uh-huh.
But 4.0 breaks down the math, and it's actually shocking how feasible it is for a normal person.
Convince me. I'm skeptical.
Okay, let's do the math live on air. The average person reads about 250 words per minute. The average nonfiction book is about 50,000 words long.
Okay.
If you divide 50,000 by 250, you get 200 minutes. That means an average book takes roughly 3.5 hours to read, from cover to cover.
3.5 hours. That feels really short.
It feels short because we usually read in these fragmented, distracted 5-minute bursts where we have to reread the same paragraph 3 times because we got a text message in the middle. But stick with me. 3.5 hours per book. 100 books is 350 hours of reading in a year.
Okay, 350 hours still sounds like a mountain. That's
Oh.
like 9 full work weeks.
It does. But now divide that by 365 days in a year.
Okay, let me think. That's less than an hour a day.
It's about 57 minutes a day.
Wait, so you're telling me if I just read for 1 hour a day, every day, I would hit 100 books a year?
Yes, and a recent study showed the average American spends over 2 hours a day on social media alone. Not to mention Netflix or just, staring into the void.
That is incredibly humbling and a little depressing. So it's not about speed reading. It's not about learning some magic skimming technique.
No. In fact, Foro argues that speed reading often kills comprehension anyway. It's about making reading your default activity.
Default activity. What does he mean by that?
Think about all those in-between moments we talked about. The Trader Joe's line, the waiting room at the dentist's office, the 15 minutes before a Zoom call starts. Usually, the default is to pull out the phone.
Right.
If you change that default to a book, whether it's on your Kindle app, an audiobook, or a physical paperback, you will find hours of reading time in your week that you didn't know you had.
It's about replacing low-value consumption with high-value consumption in the same time slots.
Exactly. If you read 10 pages in the morning with your coffee, 10 pages at lunch, and 10 pages before bed, that's 30 pages a day. That's a book every 10 days or so right there. Just on the margins. It adds up so fast.
Okay, but what about retention? Because reading 100 books is useless if you don't remember any of them a month later.
A great point. And Foro suggests you have to engage with the material. Take notes in the margins, highlight passages. After you finish a chapter, close the book and try to summarize the main points out loud. Treat the book like a conversation, not a lecture. If you engage with the text, it sticks.
I like that. Okay, next tactic, time blocking. The chapter is time blocking. Improve your focus and get more meaningful work done. This is my absolute lifeline.
It's the only way to survive the modern hybrid work environment, in my opinion.
For sure, especially in the US, working across multiple time zones is the norm now. You might be in New York, your team is in LA, your client is in London. If you leave your calendar open, people will fill it with meetings.
They will. It's called calendar Tetris. And you, the individual, will lose every single time. Your day will become a series of reactive 30-minute meetings.
You will lose. So time blocking is the simple act of putting an appointment with yourself on the calendar.
And this is the hard part, honoring that appointment like it's a meeting with your CEO.
I do this religiously. From 8 a.m. to 10:00 a.m., my calendar is blocked. It just says deep work. My colleagues in LA aren't even awake yet, and my New York colleagues can see that I'm busy. That is my protected time.
And that's when you do the hard stuff, the stuff that requires 100% of your brain power. You don't use that sacred block for answering emails.
Never. That block is for the one thing that will actually move the needle on my goals.
And this connects to his quick upgrade section. Foro lists 20 things that will make you more productive than ever.
Yeah.
We can't possibly go through all 20, but we can do a couple of rapid-fire ones.
Let's do it. First one I love. Turn off all non-human notifications.
Yes. This is life-changing. If a person isn't actively trying to reach you, your phone should not vibrate or make a sound. No news alerts, no game updates, no Uber Eats has a special deal. Notifications, silence them all. Your phone should only demand your attention if a human being needs you.
Another one. Batching emails.
Crucial. Don't check your email every 10 minutes. It turns you into a reactive machine, a slave to your inbox. Instead, check it at 11:00 a.m. and 4:00 p.m. Process them all at once. It's way faster because your brain is in email mode.
These are such small, simple tweaks, but they buy you back hours of sanity and focus.
Insanity is the real goal. Productivity isn't about becoming a robot. It's about clearing out the noise so you have space to be human.
Which brings us perfectly to the final piece of the puzzle, the long game. But first, you know what to do.
Like, subscribe, and share. It helps us keep the lights on here and keep the books open for our next deep dive.
We'll be right back.
See you in a second.
All right, we're back for our final section, Part V, the long game. This is about meaning, rest, and consistency.
We've talked a lot about speed. We've talked about efficiency. Now we have to talk about sustainability. Because if you burn out in 6 months, none of these tactics matter. If you act like a machine, eventually the machine breaks down.
This brings us to what Thoreau calls the paradox of rest.
The chapter is just called Take a Vacation.
It sounds so obvious, but in the United States, we have this really toxic culture of the unused vacation day.
Oh, it's a badge of honor. People brag about it. I haven't taken a day off in 3 years. I grind while you sleep.
And we clap for that person, and we think they're a hero. But Thoreau and all of modern science says that person is probably producing mediocre, uninspired work.
Absolutely. You cannot output high-quality creative work if your only input is stress and screen time. Real rest isn't laziness. It's fuel. It resets your entire cognitive baseline.
Just contrast the worker who grinds for 50 weeks a year, just staring at the same spreadsheet, versus the one who takes a week off. They go to a national park, they go to Yosemite or Zion, they look at a mountain, they breathe air that doesn't smell like toner from the office printer.
They disconnect completely. They stop actively thinking about the problem they've been stuck on for months.
And then they come back, and on Tuesday morning, in the shower, they have the breakthrough idea, they have fresh perspective, they solve the problem because they stop thinking about it.
Rest is part of the work. It's not the opposite of work. It's the recovery phase that allows for muscle growth. If you lift weights every single day without a rest day, your muscles don't grow, they just tear. The brain is the exact same.
I love that. And that leads directly to the next concept, which is consistency over intensity.
Thoreau has an article with the great title, I Stopped Working Out Daily, and Other Counterintuitive Productivity Shifts.
Which just sounds wrong on the surface.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we go hard every single day, no days off?
No, think about the classic New Year's resolution crowd at any Planet Fitness in America.
Oh, the January Warriors. I know them well.
January 2nd, the place is packed. You can't get a treadmill. People are going 7 days a week, 2 hours a day. They are crushing it. They bought all the new gear. They're drinking the protein shakes.
And then February 1st comes around.
And the gym is a ghost town. Because that level of intensity is not sustainable for a normal human being. They burn out, they get injured, or they just get sick of the miserable grind. They quit entirely.
Meanwhile, the person who just goes 3 days a week for 45 minutes.
But does it for 5 years straight?
Yeah.
That person wins. That person gets the body. That person gets the long-term health benefits.
It's the shift from more to better, from harder to longer.
It's all about sustainability. You want to find a pace you can maintain for a decade, not a sprint you can only keep up for a month.
And this is where the magic of compounding comes in.
The eighth wonder of the world, as Einstein supposedly called it.
These small, seemingly insignificant actions today compound into massive transformation over time.
If you write just 500 words a day, which is nothing, that's a long email, in a year, you have a 180,000-word book. If you save $10 a day, in 30 years, you're a millionaire. It's just math.
But the key is, you have to do it today.
Yeah.
You can't skip today and say, oh, I'll just do double tomorrow, because you won't.
You won't. Consistency is boring. It's not sexy to say, I wrote my 500 words today. It's much sexier to say, I pulled an all-nighter and wrote 10,000 words. But consistency is the only path to a meaningful, productive life. And that's really where the book lands. It's not just about getting things done. It's about making time for the things that align with your deepest values.
Getting the busy work and the obligations out of the way so you actually have time to live.
Precisely. If you are efficient with your work, you have time for your family. You have time for your hobbies. You have time to just sit and exist without feeling guilty. That is the ultimate win.
That is the long game. And that is a game worth playing. Before we wrap up with our final thoughts, one last reminder from us.
Like, subscribe, and share. Join the Book Podcast's own tribe. Let's build a community of people who are committed to doing it today.
Okay, let's bring this home. We've covered a lot of ground.
We really have. We moved from the emotional block of procrastination, the fear, the mental fog, to the practical systems of defense, the rituals, the time blocking. We talked about the killers, and finally we landed on the philosophy of a meaningful life.
And if I had to boil it all down to one single thought, I'd go right back to the title. Do it today. It's not about stress. It's not about frantically running around trying to be a productivity machine. For me, it's about freedom.
Freedom from the weight.
Exactly. The weight of undone things is so heavy. Carrying that backpack full of I'll do it tomorrow is exhausting. When you do it today, you get to put the backpack down.
And the relevance for everyone listening is so clear right now. Just look at the world. Politics, the economy, technology. It's chaotic and unpredictable. You cannot control the stock market. You cannot control the next wave of AI. You cannot control global events. The only thing you have any real control over is your action right here, right now, today.
Perfect time never, ever arrives. The stars will never perfectly align for you to start.
So you have to align them yourself.
I love that. We spent the last hour talking about doing things today. But here is the question we want to leave you with.
And we want you to be really honest with yourself on this one.
If you knew you couldn't fail, but you only had the next 24 hours to start, what is the one thing you would stop putting off right this second? And more importantly, why aren't you doing it?
Think about it.
Thank you so much for listening to Book Podcast Zone. We appreciate you giving us your attention today.
Now go use it wisely.
And don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you in the next deep dive. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.